Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Matt Bernier, the DRF.com Formulator Race of the Day for Thursday, December the 29th is race number 8 at the Great Race Place, Santa Anita. We're going a mile on the turf, and it's the $75,000 Blue Norther Stakes for 2-year-old fillies. Let's take a peek at this field. Again, you can download free Formulator past performances for this race, the Blue Norther Stakes, on the Race of the Day event page on DRF.com. So please download and follow along. Matt, we've got several horses coming out of the Grade 3 Jimmy Durante Stakes, a race that we should probably take with several grains of salt.
Yeah, you had all sorts of debris that was blown onto the track. You had a bit of a storm down at Del Mar, and you had sewer covers and all sorts of nonsense blown into the first turn. So you had a lot of horses that were affected by that. One horse that wasn't necessarily affected by that was the winner, but let's also make it clear, Journey Home was much the best.
Journey Home was much the best. It did help that she wasn't running on debris, and some of the others did, but she's very good in her own right. Before we get to her, let's talk about the horse down on the rail, Simmy's Temple, who had an outside post and ran evenly that day. She's kind of plateaued at the mid-60s, upper 60s from a buyer standpoint. She's going to have to run a little bit faster, doesn't she?
I didn't think she was terrible, all things considered, with the debris, but like you say, it just seems like she's not quite getting any better, and she's going to need to improve. She's going to win.
Can you make the argument the two-party in the paddock is at least a little bit dirtied up? She won her turf debut going down the hill in her second lifetime start. Then she tried mails in that juvenile turf sprint. That was kind of a tough spot, and she was 9-2 that day. And then she ran the Jimmy Durante and had all kinds of issues.
Yeah, I mean, draw a line through the most recent one, obviously. 2 back. I didn't like how flat she was down the lane. I know she was running up against boys, but still, I expected a little bit of something there. If you go 3 and 4 back, the career debut, I understand that was on dirt. That was her career best buyer, though, and it makes me wonder at this point, boy, what do you do with her? I mean, at this is her best race on dirt? I mean, is she actually a turf horse? I don't know. We'll wait and find out, but she's not for me.
That's a good point. She ran well against American Gal that day, a filly that's come back to really acquit herself nicely in some top races. Interesting that that race preceded a layoff and then on to the turf for Carla Gaines. The 3 is Cynthiana, winner last time out for Richard Baltus, going 2 turns at Del Mar. I thought she was a little bit green when she made the front.
Thought she was green as grass. You watched the way that she acted with the lead changes. Kent got her over, and then she popped back to the left lead, finished that way. I like the turn of foot. It looks like there is some ability here. The concern I have is, you know, if you're going to act goofy like that, you're going up against much better horses in a spot like this. If you could promise me she'd be professional and do everything the way she's supposed to, she's got a shot in here. If she does the same sort of thing, I think she may be in trouble.
Baltus also has the 4 Princess Wa, a horse that's been bet hard in all 3 lifetime starts. She had the misfortune on dirt in her first 2 races to catch a couple of runaways, but last time out on turf, she was able to relax very nicely on the lead, and she kept right on going. She could be the speed of this race.
I loved how game she was down on the inside. She didn't want to lose that most recent start. Like you say, she's going to show speed in a race that I don't think is going to be any sort of blistering pace. She's probably going to make the front. There's just a question about quality for me.
We mentioned at the top that the horse to beat in here is the number 5, Journey Home for Graham Motion, who beat 5 of these in the Jimmy Durante. But again, there were a lot of extenuating circumstances in that race. Here's the formulator fact for Journey Home's trainer, Graham Motion. Over the past 4 years, with last out winners on turf as 2-year-olds, coming off a mini layoff, good numbers, a 293 return on investment, 38% winners for Journey Home. I just like the way she finished up that day. Now, Motion's recent record at Santa Anita is not great, but Journey Home, the way she finished makes me think that she's a true stakes horse. She fits well at this level. The question is, how short do you go?
Well, ultimately, that's what it comes down to for everyone. I pegged her at 3-1. She's 7-2 on the morning line. She's way the horse to beat. Each one of her first 2 lifetime starts, she was awesome. I thought she really kicked at the end of that Laurel race in the career debut, and then, again, you obviously factor in the sort of issues that was going on down at Del Mar that day, but boy, the way that she finished and just made this big sweeping move and just really buried the field, she looks like she's the goods.
German-bred La Force, all kinds of problems in the Jimmy Durante. Throw that race out. She was 92-1 in the Breeders' Cup 2 starts back, and I thought she ran really well. Bejarano was able to get her to the inside despite breaking from a tough outside post. She eased out in the stretch. She wasn't going to win, but I like the way she finished up. She galloped out really nicely. I think there's something here for La Force, and she's reunited with Bejarano.
I picked her 4th, like you say, draw a line through the most recent start. She ran pretty well in the Breeders' Cup. I didn't have a problem with that, and I don't have a problem with the way she ran that Surfer Girl 3 back. I think she's a little bit interesting. The question becomes pace scenario. Is she going to get enough to run at? And 2, I suppose if you want to look at it and say, you know what, you're leery about the 77 she got in the Breeders' Cup, she doesn't have any sort of real edge on this field.
7 is Uvetzi, who's done little wrong from 2 starts for trainer John Sadler. This is a daughter of Bodemeister that sold for $420,000 as a Keeneland yearling. I really liked the way she kicked in last time out, going 6.5 down the hill. Uvetzi's going to have to stretch out for the first time, but it's apparent that she's got a little bit of ability.
Yeah, it's interesting. The Dam, she was a pretty good sprinter, but like you say, the way that this filly's finished in each of her 2 starts thus far, it gives off the indication and the idea that distance is only going to be her friend. You just mentioned Bodemeister. They paid quite a bit of money for her. I won't be surprised if she gets involved.
Movette won 2 starts back at a mile at Del Mar, was involved in all the issues in the Jimmy Durante. I think she's solid, but I think she won 2 starts back partly because she got a real hot pace to rally into. I'm not sure that's going to be the case here.
Yeah, and I also just look at it and say, other than that race, where is her race on her page that makes her competitive in here?
Tap It All has had to be a frustrating sort for Doug O'Neill. This horse sold for $800,000 in March and needed a ship to Turf Paradise to win last time out. Now, she won by the length of the stretch, but when you're 1-20 against those kind of horses, you're supposed to win easily. O'Neill's at least showing some confidence throwing her into this spot, but boy, this is a gigantic hike in class.
They clearly thought highly of her paying that kind of money, and maybe she's just not going to pan out. 9th lifetime start. And look, her 2 turf races are easily, or 3, I should say, the 2 turf routes, easily the best of her career, but I just think she's way up against it from a class standpoint.
I think Miss Sugars is a little bit interesting. The number 10 for Jeff Mullins getting blinkers for the first time. She kind of bobbled coming out of there in the Jimmy Durante, saw the debris, ended up 5 wide going into the first turn, ended up getting down towards the inside for Tyler Bays. I thought she finished okay. She's very lightly raced. Maybe the blinkers on get her into the race earlier. I think that's key for her.
I loved the race. I thought everything about it was good. Take out the debris. Maybe she runs a little bit closer even than 3 lengths. It's much better than it looks on paper. Put it that way. The blinkers going on, I don't know what to make of that because to me anyway, it was hard to really say, well, because of that race, I felt like blinkers would move her up. Well, I thought she would have run just fine if there weren't trash in the way. I think she's interesting in here. I'd use her underneath.
Let's talk about the 11, Joe's Golden Holiday. That's your top selection in this race. This is a very lightly raced filly, but I love the way she really improved on turf last time out. She showed a little brief speed in her debut on dirt. I think that hinted that there was something here, but she got to the surface and distance she needed last time out, and Joe's Golden Holiday came through in a big way. That was a fast race.
The career debut, look, she was in a 4-ply speed duel and just completely fell apart, and it is what it is, no big deal. She comes back on the turf. I thought it was a really good effort. I like the way that she has to, sort of work out some sort of mid-pack trip. The outside post doesn't concern me too much. It's also worth noting, she's 3/4 of the Golden Sense. I mean, this is a horse that's bred to be a good horse. She looked much better going 2 turns when she finally leveled off. She looked like a good thing, and I understand, we talk about how jockeys, don't really matter, X, Y, and Z. Mike Smith coming up, that doesn't really change anything for me, but when you look for what it's worth, past 5 years, turf, non-graded stakes, Doug O'Neill with Mike Smith, 3 for 4. The only time they lost by a head, an $8 ROI. It just feels like it's like all the other rides for Smith. He shows up when there's money on the line. I'm going to give her a shot.
Now you're going against the O'Neill negative formulator fact, the old last out maiden winner, which is something like 2
Not
for
good.
50. But when you get a price, she's 10-1 on the morning line of the horse that won last time out in a fairly fast race and is bred. You can certainly go against that formulator fact. Matt's going with the 11, Joe's Golden Holiday. I wish I could be more clever in here. I just really loved the way Journey Home kicked home last time out in the Jimmy Durante, and she also got bumped coming out of the gate before she was able to avoid all of that debris. Let's see if she can do it again. I think that she's got a little bit of ability, a very promising filly, $200,000 Keeneland September yearling by Warfront. I went 5, 10, 9, and 3. You went 11, 5, 10, and 6 in the Blue Northern Stakes, the formulator race of the day for Thursday. If you're playing the Santa Anita card from home, $100 worth of free bets, $100 sign-up bonus, plus $25 free bet just waiting for you. drfbets.com/free bets. Try DRF Bets risk-free this winter. Approximate post time for the Blue Norther. Again, your formulator race of the day, 4 o'clock Pacific on Thursday. Good luck.